Hello everyone, today we're back with another tier list, and this time we're going to be approaching the agility class. This is anyone that's going to have the little crossbow next to their name, and they're a specific class based by the gear. Now if you didn't see the last video where I did a tier list, I do things a little bit different than your conventional one, just the way I do it, but I go and have 4 tiers on things. I name them a little bit different for my amusement. Now the bottom tier is just how it sounds. I'll wait for a balance. It's pretty much these troops need to get something a little bit more out of them, and hopefully they make some adjustments inside the game. It's okay, it's going to be your standard average type of hero and pretty much balanced the way it should be. While it's better, it's going to be a little bit better than your average. There's going to be something exceptional about them that's separating them from the rest. And for the last one, all the DBZ fans, it's over 9,000. These are the ones that are just overpowered and broken in my opinion. As far as if a hero's on the left side of the row or the right side, makes no difference to me. I consider all these kind of equal. Yes, one of them might be a little bit better or a little bit worse, but there's really nothing deciding on the row position of what that is. And finally, this is my own personal opinion. So if there's something you don't agree with here, don't take it personally. This is just from my experience playing the game and how I view these heroes. So the first hero I'm throwing in that needs a game balance is going to be Peru. Now, just for your own reference here, I only have this hero at 1 star, so I'm not really utilizing the Awaken skill on it. But every time I go up against this hero, it just seems like it's not a problem at all, really isn't doing too much to add to the battle, and really seems like it needs a buff. Yes, I am a big fan of the damage immunity shields there. I think they can be really annoying, but even the times that I did go up and that did pop on Peru, it was nothing to worry about. I mean, I guess the removal of the shields could come in handy when going up against Rochelle, but still, to have to take a death just to get 1 round of shields removed just doesn't seem too useful to me. The next one that needs a balance is going to be Amanda, and where it does sound cool to be hitting the enemy with the highest attack, removing energy from them, and removing buffs, it just doesn't really seem like it plays out as good as it sounds. It really feels like every skill that she has that's getting thrown out there on the enemy just has some sort of counter that's just going to negate it. I do have this hero at 4 stars, but to be honest with you, I really don't use it besides the Ancestral Tomb, and even in there and going up against as an enemy, she just kind of feels non-existent. There's never a moment where I feel threatened when I see her on the board, or really feel like she's doing anything for me when I am using her. The next one on the It's Okay row is gonna be Calyx, and this is one I used quite a bit when I was first starting off in the game. I really like the effect of hitting enemies in a straight line, but as I later found, this could easily be countered by just splitting up the troops. When getting attacked, it is going to throw some extra energy on your hero with the highest attack, so that is helpful, but overall this just seems like your average style hero, and it's good to have, but it's not really anything that's spectacular. Next on the list we have Tanya, and this is one I didn't get right away. I actually got her maybe a couple of weeks ago, but this was one whenever I saw her on the battlefield, I always was kind of like, ooh, I wonder who that is, because I didn't have her, and I kind of wanted to observe her and see what she did. Now it wasn't anything spectacular, but wasn't anything terrible. This is mainly going to be a crit based hero, and a lot of it is just all self-absorbed by Tanya herself. I do like the idea of being further away from an enemy, increasing the attack, and she definitely does get a good amount of crit rate and crit damage, although as I said, it just seems like it's your normal tier average player there. There's nothing that really wowed me about her. Next we have Telfer, and this was another one I used in the beginning of the game, and I will say I really like the damage over time with the bleed effect on it. I think that's a nice little feature to have, but when this one comes around, once again, not a threat at all. It is a nice little addition when going into the Ancestral Tomb, but at the end of the day, the Awaken skill, I'd like to see something that's really like a bam, I'm going to hit you hard once I get you to 8 stars, and this one just giving some healing and some dodge really doesn't seem to do that in my opinion. Now the Awaken skill is dependent on Telfer making the kill, and I find a lot of times it's usually just somebody in my front row or my big damage dealers that are doing it. Telfer just doesn't seem like that big damage dealer to me. The last one on It's Okay is going to be Ken, and I will tell you, this was one when I went up against Ken when I first started playing the game and didn't understand about splitting up my troops, totally annihilated me, and this was one I was really like, man, I gotta get that one. Once again, we have damage over time, which I do like with the bleeding, but so much of this is based around doing that chain attack, and just by splitting it, it's totally negated. If you are able to kill that one enemy that's solo and able to get a group, then this can be pretty dangerous, but as I said, most of the time you're just hitting the one enemy, you're only getting 1 bleed effect on the enemy, which means a lot of those stats really aren't doing as good as they should be. But if you are going up into the arena itself, where you can go and select which side you're going to have that grouping on, it could actually be pretty dangerous and would be on the tiers of being, wow, impressive. And on to that wow impressive tier, the first one I have is Bazam. And I do want to say, every time I see this name, I'm like, Bazam! Just can't help it, it just looks like one of those words you gotta say like that. But I really feel that a lot of people are taking these light and dark heroes and unranking them inside the game just because it is so hard to get them and get those star levels up. But I think 6 months from now, when people are really stacking things up and things are maxed out, these are going to be the heroes you want to go for, and they're going to be quite dangerous. Right off the bat though, Bazam is going to hit hard, and if he kills an enemy, he's going to give himself an extra life. And this can happen up to 3 times, meaning he could have 4 lives. There's nothing more annoying than just killing an enemy, having them pop back up again, and there they are right in your face. What makes this even more annoying is when he is killed, he's going to be attacking the attacker that killed him and giving them a debuff. Now that debuff is going to be taking a while and really shouldn't even apply to this tier list at all, but still doing that damage attack back to the hero that hit you is sometimes that makes or breaks the game. At least I've lost a bunch of games where it's down to that last sliver. I go and kill him, he goes, does the attack back to me, kills me, and then uses one of his revives. So because of the multiple times that has happened to me, that's why I'm throwing this one on well impressive, and this is one I'm trying to go after. Next on the list we have Noel, and this is another one that I feel like it's kind of been annoying but not really terrible. I was kind of bouncing back and forth if I should throw it on It's Okay or Wow Amazing, and I kind of came to it like, yeah, some of the things I'm seeing on this just make it a little bit better than average. So it's definitely dancing the line on it, but still, I think this is a solid one to grab if you do see the option to get it. The first one that always gets me is starting with that full energy and hitting 3 random heroes. Seems like it always gets one of my squishy ones and takes them out a good chunk, and then somebody else comes right after them and finishes up the job for them. Now the increased damage of normal attacks, giving energy to other heroes, nothing really sounds too spectacular, but for some reason, whenever I go up against him, it just seems like everything is just working in his favor. I don't know if it's the debuffs it's removing or the healing, but it seems like this is always one of the last heroes that stand on the screen when I'm going up against him. Not anything that's like, oh my god, I can't kill this one, but still, it's always there and it's always maintained to just stick around to the end of battle. So I guess that's the question I have for you guys, is did I rank this too high or is it right where it needs to be? The next one we have is Solon, and I got a lot of heat from people, no pun intended, when I made the video and said, hey, go for the light and dark heroes, don't worry about Solon. But I do find this to be better than average. The fact of, once again, damage over time with the burn, and this is also going to focus on the front row, which is a great way to counter that Kion. I really like the idea of burning all the enemies on the screen, and if you do get this at a high enough star level, it definitely does make the battles a lot easier. So I apologize to any of you Sol fans out there for saying don't grab him. This is a better than average hero in my opinion. And the final one we have on the list is going to be Sanders. I know a lot of people love this hero, but there are some things that keep this from being over that 9,000 if you ask me. Now, a lot of people love Sanders for that whole transparent state, which I will say does do a good amount of damage and is a nice little added effect. But I find a lot of times when I'm using Sander, always seems to die earlier in the battle, and it's always one of those things of, okay, now he's invisible for 2 rounds, let's see if he can kill anybody, and then when he comes back out, bam, he's dead. But I do find it's quite helpful having the reducing the enemy's speed and increasing your speed so you're getting your hits out there before them, and sometimes that's all you need to take down the enemy before they have a chance to take you down. I've also found it's nice when you are getting low on health to have that heal and you're sitting there watching the turns through and just going, man, I hope I get my skill in there before my enemy gets that Kion just smacking me and killing me. But what I think I like the best about it is when he removes a debuff from a touching ally, it's going to get additional energy. That energy is going to store up, and then it's going to use that energy to just go and really smack the crap out of the enemy. You could pretty much ensure in this game that every single one of your heroes is going to have some sort of debuff put on them from the enemy. So if you are doing this accordingly and you don't have a lot of heroes that remove debuffs, this can actually be quite useful. On to the over 9,000, there's no doubt about it that Lilith is an annoying hero to go up against. And if you are going up against Lilith and you're still putting more than one hero in the front row, start slapping yourself right now. This is not something you want to have multiple heroes sitting up there, because the fact that she's going to be getting multiple hits on a single turn is just an easy way to say, yep, I'm a dummy, I shouldn't be going up against her because this is going to end bad. Now, don't get me wrong, it took me a good amount of slappings myself to start saying, oh, why don't I just pull one of these heroes back a row? I found between this and the Awaken skill of when killing an enemy, you're going to get increased attack and dodge. It was just a downhill battle. 2 enemies in front, slap, 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 one of them dies, now she's stronger, next round it's just wiping out my whole team. So this is a hero that if you ever see out there inside of an event or any way to get, definitely hop on it to grab it. Next on the list we have Fleda, and once again, what an annoying hero. Nothing worse than starting the round to just have your Lulu or even your DPS just go and just get cranked away in one hit. It's totally annoying. She'll always be attacking the enemy with the lowest hit points, and if they have a buff on them, which they most likely will, she'll be increasing her dodge rate, making it even more difficult to get rid of her. She gets low on health, she gets increased dodge, she kills an enemy, she gets increased attack, and if your allies die, she gets a permanent attack buff on that too, which makes this one incredibly tough to kill. I myself am always throwing my Kion in a straight row with her there in hopes that I can hit her and drop her from the back. This is another one that, once again, you see it out there, try to pick it up because you won't be going wrong by using her. Next on the list we have Dexter, and this might be biased for me because this is one I've been using since day one of playing the game and still using it. The increased attack that I get from it when dying and going and increasing the attack of the highest attack hero. This has just worked out so well for me through all my gameplay. I haven't had a chance to really need to switch over to something else unless I'm doing Ancestral Tomb. But with the times I have tried to switch, it just seemed like nothing really filled the spot for what Dex is able to do. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because we just made the guide a couple of days ago, so if you want to know more about Dex, make sure you check out that video. Last on the list we have Milia, and this is another dangerous one to see. The fact that we're once again hitting the enemy with the lowest hit points is definitely something that makes some trouble inside the game. Now this skill set just works so perfect in my opinion. It's something that I'm just waiting to get a couple more stars on it and it'll be going right in my arsenal. Might actually replace Dex now that I mention it. But the fact of the active is going to do a 230% damage and hit the lowest hit point enemy. If it has a chance that this skill crits, it's going to increase crit damage. The normal attacks are going to be hitting the enemy with the lowest hit points, and when you are able to hit a crit, you're going to be healing yourself too. Not to mention, for every hero that's touching her is going to be an increase of crit rate. So there's that. The other passive skill is going to give you a crit rate. This is a hero that's going to be doing a lot of crit. Now I know I usually say on the thing like, you know, this one does a lot of crit, it's not good. This is actually one that does crit and is good. Now the awakened skill that's going to say, hey, if you killed that enemy with your active skill, you're going to get to attack again at a reduced damage. With all the crit that's on top of her already, you really find that maybe every 2 or 3 enemies that's killed inside a row, they're out of the way, and then it's just your tank and your dealer left up front. You just cleaned up all the buffers and the healers and their damage dealers, and all that's left is these big tanky rocks for the rest of your team to just annihilate. So I'm a big fan of Milia, and I think she should be in this over 9,000, at least in my opinion. So really curious to know what you guys think, what you would move around in my tier list to make it more like yours. And if you didn't see the whole tier list from the other day for the strength class, I guess I'll have that one linked up over here, and the Dexter video will link it over here somewhere. Hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching, and remember, I pick my butt.